magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, and Pyramids. Success is your destiny. Yes. Love, wisdom, power. Remember, yes, always who you are. Yes.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Moorish Monday with Abdullah El Talib Mosi Bey on Magnus Crystal Pyramids YouTube. We're also broadcasting live on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube. So as you see there, Moroccan Post Media YouTube is not the guest for the night. It's also broadcast live on the Moroccan for the first time. So we have a simultaneously broadcasted on two platforms. So I'm excited about that. We waiting for our guest. I just spoke to her. She's trying to get on. So we have our guest tonight. She is the founder, the originator, sole founder, architect, and president general of the National Million Woman March and Universal Movement. It's none other than Sister Empress Dr. Filet Chianisu. She'll be joining us shortly. Let me tell you how I met Dr. Filet. Taj Sharif Bey and I, this is how we met, the one who connected us with Dr. Filet. So I'm going to start there. Taj and I this is after the Million Man March. This is shortly after the Million Man March, which was on October 16, 1995. There, Reverend Bevels, who had worked with Louis Farrakhan on the Million Man March, he had a meeting in North Philly. So Taj and I attended the meeting in North Philadelphia, and we were getting out of my van, and Taj was driving my van, and I was getting out of the passenger side of my van, and Basima Muhammad was coming out of her car as I was coming out of the van. And so this is how we met Sister Basima Muhammad. So we exchanged numbers with Sister Basima Muhammad, and Taj is the founder of the Moors Order Round Table. So the Moors Order Round Table and Sisters Supporting Sisters with Sister Basima Muhammad's organization, we eventually teamed up, and we did a series of lectures in Philadelphia. Sisters Supporting Sisters and Moors Order Roundtable. So when Sister Basima Muhammad was working with Sister Dr. Filet, this is how we connected with Dr. Filet through Sister Basima Muhammad. She let us know in the early part of 1997 in the 96 when they launched the meetings for the Million Woman March leading up to the march. And so we were at one of the meetings I believe in North Philadelphia. Sister Basima Muhammad had let us know that there was a meeting going on. So this is how Taj and I connected with Dr. Filet. So I'm waiting for her to get on. So I just wanted to tell that story, and I'll continue. We also, leading up to the march, because Taj and I were very heavily involved in Men in Support of. There was an organization that was established, Men in Support of the Million Woman March, and Taj Uribe and I headed the Camden branch. So we headed the Camden branch of Men in Support of the Million Woman March, and there was a series of meetings that we had. Well, anyway, and the Men in Support. So I said, so Taj and I were very instrumental. Or we also, yes, in our supporting the Million Woman March. We Taj and I had gone to the freeway, the art museum, the thoroughfare, the art museum. We had gone there, and Taj was looking down along the thoroughfare, and he noticed that it was patterned after a womb. You know, the fallopian tube, Spring Garden, and the, Eakins Oval and all that. It was so Taj had written an article in support of the Million Woman March, and showing the ancient civilization is patterned after the womb of woman, the principles of woman. And so we actually that was 1997, and I think I'm going to encourage Taj once again to publish that article. We actually put together a booklet, and with that article in there, with the flags that align the parkway. That's what's called, the Parkway, Philadelphia Parkway. That aligned the Parkway. The design, the architectural design, or of the Parkway, showing that it is actually a womb and the fallopian tubes and the birth canal, and a well written article. And so definitely, I'm going to encourage Taj again to publish that article, well-written article. And I was waiting for it. So I just wanted to tell that story as I'm waiting for Dr. Filet to get on. We're looking at, I want to give her a call again. Brother Terrence, do you hear me? Brother Terrence, do you hear me? Terrence. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just need to call sister. I need to call her again to see where she was. All right. So.
Okay, go ahead and call her.
Right. So I just let the people know about the broadcast. About the broadcast. I just need you to talk to the people, so there's no dead space.
Okay, about what broadcast?
I can barely hear you, but I might have to turn up my volume though. But I'm going to get off and give her a call. Just let's talk to the people about the Moroccan Post.
What am I gonna say? I had absolutely nothing prepared, but I'll just talk about the
website or whatever. Yes.
Absolutely. I got you.
All right. I'll be back.
All right, I got you. So
she's backstage. She's backstage, Hank.
Already.
She's backstage. I might have to get off to turn my volume up because I can't hear you. So let me let Hank know that she's backstage.
Okay. See if
she just texted me.
All right, since we don't want any dead space here, so um, of course we just got finished a course, which was the trust and legal safeguards course. It was an amazing course. Um, we are still working on the website to get everything on the website. When we do get everything on the Moroccan Post website, we will put it all over the YouTube, and put it, we'll put it out everywhere, um, and that way that everyone will be able to have access to the Moroccan Post School's website. Um, I mean, we will have every course that we've done since 2019. So I believe we did about 8 courses. So we will have all of those on that website. Of course, starting with the course that we just finished up. You'll have Abdullah's the etymology courses, the grammar courses, and of course the ones with that we've done with Shem Malachi Bay. So we will have all of those on there. And it looks like Sister Filet is on. Peace, Brother Abdullah.
All right, peace. As I said, Dr. Filet, you are the only guest. The Moroccan Post Media is being broadcast live on both this station, this channel, on the Magnus Pyramid Crystal, as well as for the first time on Moroccan Post Media YouTube. So we're broadcast on 2 channels.
Great.
All right. So I gave the audience knows how I was connected to you. I gave the history of Sister Basim Muhammad, introducing Taj and me to you. I gave that history. Connecting with Sister Basim Muhammad back in late '90, right after the Million Man March, and then how we connected, and then we broke that down. So I just wanted to let them know. All right, so here we have, once again, we have the originator. For those who are just joining us, we have the originator, sole founder, architect, and President General of the National Million Woman March and Universal Movement.
Mm-hmm.
The Million Woman March was held here in Philadelphia on October 25, 1997. Now, Taj and I did not attend the march because we were in Camden, as I said, that Taj and I were part of men in support of the Million Woman March. And so there were buses that came to Camden.
Mm-hmm.
And so the buses that were parked in Camden, we had the security set up. The sisters were escorted to the train. There was no cars. The Ben Franklin Bridge was shut down, so you could only take the trains over. So Taj and I also we had organized for Dr. Filet and her team to come to City Hall in Camden to meet with the mayor, the police chief, the fire chief. We had the whole, and then we met in the conference room, and so that we could lay out the PICO, New Jersey Transit. We had that whole setup, and so Dr. Filet and her team could actually talk about the logistics. So like I said, Taj Vipe and I were heavily involved in men in support of the Woman Men March. So I want you to you have received several awards, and which I'll let the audience know. And before, and I'll continue. Dr. Filet was born in Philadelphia over 5 decades ago. She was born and raised in Philadelphia. She studied African history, theology, and metaphysics with a major in religion theology and a minor in pre-law studies. She's received several awards, 1998, she received the Chair's Award from the Congressional Black Caucus, the Whitney M. Young Jr. Award from the Wharton School of Business, the Drum Major Award from the Martin Luther King Nonviolence Organization, and a special award, June 2016, she received an honorary PhD in African Religion Spirituality Development at the request of Dr. Kumbina Ashanti. That's a high distinction. So I definitely want to give you your honors for all of your awards, and especially the honorary doctoral award. So my fist off to you, sister. Like I said, I've known Dr. Filet for a long time, and it's an honor to have her on this platform. As we'll continue, I want you to now have the floor, and to before we get into the meat of the discussion of your presentation,
Mhm.
I want you to let the audience know what inspired you. Now, before you do that, what those who are just joining us, all right, who's been with us for 15 minutes, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and let people know that we're on, that we're live and direct. Share it on your social media platforms. We can do that right now. Let people know we're live and direct. I want you to let the audience know what inspired you to take on this great task, to lead this great task, this monumentous, this historical event known as the Million Woman March and Universal Movement.
Wow. Well, living in America, for one. But first, let me just say thank you so much, my brother, for inviting me to be a part of this platform, a part of this forum. And certainly, I have to applaud you because I've watched you for several years, and with that, have seen your growth and development. So it's really good to be able to be here, to have an intelligent, high frequency type of dialogue, and to really, get into some nitty gritty kind of stuff. Because that's what I do. I don't mess around. And if any of you are kind of weak, this might not be the session for you, because we are going to speak truth to power. And with that, there's a lot of things going on in Philadelphia, of course, but throughout the world. I'm back and forth between Philly and DC because I'm doing some things in DC. A lot of the embassies are in DC, so I am there because in building now the first global movement for women and girls of African descent worldwide, or as we say, Akabalon descent, I have to now connect with governments, nations, and so forth. So I'm back and forth between Philadelphia and DC. But to answer your question, Brother Adula, what inspired me is us, our people, our ancestors, our creator. For a long time, I was involved in many different things in Philadelphia and other locations as it pertains to justice for our people. When I was in college, I didn't go to college because I wanted to get a degree. I went to college because I wanted to be in the movement. I heard about all this stuff going on, and I was like, wow, I want to do that. But unfortunately, I came after what I call the good stuff, meaning the 1950s, 60s, and so forth. I came after that period, the late 70s, 80s. So it really wasn't a lot going on, but we did what we could on campuses. I was at community college, Temple University, Drexel, and so forth. So that's really why I went to college, not for the other stuff, right? At the time, I was the only Black person, and yes, I said Black for a reason, and I'll go into that later, that was in the undergrad department at Temple in the Department of Religion. I was the only one that looked like me, and had the opportunity to build with an incredible scholar. For those of you who may have heard of him, his name was Dr. Leonard Barrett. He wrote one of the first comprehensive scholarly books on the Rastafarians, and he was my faculty advisor. And I was already doing work in that field, even as before going into undergrad. And so he knew that because we had talked about it, and he said, you really need to look more at independent work with what you're doing and stay very focused. Because when you're in those institutions, you are indoctrinated so heavily. And so for me, I wanted to be one of the first, I would say, Black women's theologians. I didn't want to be a minister or whatever, a doctor of theology. I wanted to be a theologian. That's a totally different realm. Totally different, right? But let me tell you, to get to that, ooh-wee, the challenges are just unbelievable. So Dr. Barrett encouraged me to get more involved in independent research, and so I did. I opened a shop in Philadelphia called Stiltwalkers. My brother and I. It was a bookstore. It was an arts, and we had it, jewelry, art, you name it. We did lectures and all of that. So I was doing independent research for several years before the Million Woman March, based on the work that I knew I would have to do at some point, because I strongly believed that I had a calling, which is why I went to school for religion or theology. I believed that I had a calling, and that the Most High would at some point, put me in a position to be of service. So that's what inspired, to a great degree, the Million Woman March, the plight of our people. And then when seeing the Million Man March, I felt something that I had not felt in a long time. And at that point, for those who do not know, and most don't know, because there's so much misinformation out there, because our people did not, for whatever reason, think to embrace and hold the history of the largest gathering in the world of any women ever. Our people didn't see that of any real value from a historical perspective. And so the enemies, our enemies that is, decided, well, okay, they don't care, so we're just gonna put it underneath the rug and act like it didn't happen. And so as a result, there's been a lot of misrepresentation, misinformation, and a bunch of other stuff that I'll go into at another time, to dismantle, to just create all kinds of confusion and other kind of stuff about the Million Woman March. And if people took the real time to examine it, you would have seen for yourself how incredible it really, really was and is. So again, I had a calling. I woke up and one morning and had this vision, and I had no idea it would be me. I was thinking it would be someone else, but it ended up being me, and I accepted the call and the challenge.
Wonderful. That excellent. Uh, even a lot of my audience, and you even have, like I said, the march was 30. How many years ago? 30.
28. It'll be 28 in October.
28. I'm saying 30 something.
Right.
28. 28.
That's coming, and I got something
Yeah,
planned.
28 years ago. Why am I saying 30 something? 28 years ago. And so you have
March for this year's 30.
30. Yes, that 30. That's where that's what the 30 comes in. Yes. So so I definitely wanted to have you on so people can know, the history. And as you said, that there had not been ongoing writings or articles about it, so that those who are, who were not around during that time don't even know about it. And you alluded to that. So, but I definitely, wanted to give you this opportunity, this platform, so that you can share with my audience your experience. You had sisters and brothers who and I remember you had sisters that were with you, and then Sister Basim Muhammad, as I mentioned to the audience, was working closely with you at the time, and there were several other sisters, and I met all the sisters too, and I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, well, you won't, because the
Mm-hmm.
Million Woman March was more than an event. It was more than a march.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always the intent to develop it into a movement. And so unless you are focused on doing the kinds of work that is required to develop a movement or a nation, to go to something as an event is one thing. To dig in and know that this is going to take time to develop. There's never been a movement for our women. I mean, a movement, an actual thing that our women were, in fact, the actual, without a shadow of a doubt, lead of. I mean, we've been involved in thousands of things and have
Yeah,
supported and have a leadership position. But
yes, that's true.
here's something that I learned in this process. Most of our people will make reference to the teachings of the Honorable Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but rarely will you hear anyone make reference to the teachings of a sister. So we have to really examine what's really going on. Here we are in the 21st century, but yet the recognition, the credit, the reality of our women is still minimized, is still lessened. And I knew that when I started the Million Woman March, which is why I started it, because that has to change. It is said that a nation can rise no higher than its women. Now, of course, we know that varies, because you can oppress and suppress the women to the degree where you still rise, but what kind of government do you really have? And so when you make those kind of analogies, you begin to realize things must change. Now, unfortunately, most didn't get that message, neither through the Million Woman March or in the past 250 years of what we've seen in this country and in other countries. But nature, Mother Nature, see, people getting ready to get some information and some butt kickings from Mother Nature, because people don't listen, they don't pay attention, they're very selective with what they internalize or embrace, and sometimes that's at a fault. Just because something might be unfamiliar or new to you, that don't mean you shouldn't examine it, and then when you see the value of it or the possibilities of it, deal with that, as opposed to, I don't know. If you're not responsible enough to get the real information that now is readily available at your fingertips, that's on you. So why people don't know about the Million Woman March today, I can only say to some degree because they don't want to know. Why? Because it is history. It is the largest gathering in the world of any women anywhere ever. So if anyone was doing any research about our women, you're going to have to see the Million Woman March, whether you like it or not. It's etched in stone. Why do I say that? Because it happened in the 20th century. That means if someone came tomorrow and did 50 million women, it's cool. Because for the 20th century, we're it. Now, note, some say, well, it came off the heels of the Million Man March, and that's why it was successful. No.
And I heard a lot of that too, Dr. Filet.
Sure, I did
I was heavily involved with both, so I was right there, and it was a lot of that chatter. Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of other things. Oh, they're just trying to outdo the men, or they just trying to.
Yeah, I heard all that too.
I'm like, Negro, please.
Yeah.
See, that's weak behind stuff. That's when you don't want to deal with truth nor the reality of the situation. So rather than to look closer, examine, analyze, critique in an intelligent manner, folks just went off of whatever stuff was said, and it was easier that way than to deal with responsibility. And so, how do we know that, Brother Abdullah? Well, let me just say this. The Million Man March, and again, Mr. Farrakhan and I have been very close over the years. I'm not a part, I'm not a part of the nation. I wasn't, the nation wasn't a part of us in terms of organized. I mean, they supported, of course, but it came from the heart and the soul of our people, from the grassroots level up. The information was given to me ancestrally because I fast for many days. I wore white for many days. And some people thought I was going through initiation because I was wearing white. But I was literally being prepared to do something of a certain magnitude. And it did exactly that. 2.5 million. Now, the press and others said, oh, it was 500,000. But the University of Pennsylvania did what they call an aerial diagnostical study, and they told us it was 2.5 million. Now, let's do a comparative analysis. The Million Man March, which was wonderful, whether y'all liked it or not, that's not the point. It did do for many things that was inspiring, uplifting, and so forth. It did, in fact, bring brothers together who had never been brought together before, and it gave young brothers an experience that they had not ever begun to know about. So, again, we always do this kind of nitpicking stuff, because for whatever reason, we're trained to do that. Anyway, the Million Man March pretty much was guaranteed to be a success because of Mr. Farrakhan. Many millions know of Minister Farrakhan, good, better, and different. Not only that, he had a built-in capability to organize because he had mosques all over the country and parts of the world. So he had a built-in organizing team all over the country, all at one time. Also had financial capabilities, also had political clout, also had an international stature or position in the world. So the success of the Million Man March was pretty much inevitable, right? But the Million Woman March, 2 years later, why was that successful? Not because of the Million Man March, because it came 2 years later, not right afterwards, but 2 years later. And no corporate sponsoring, no major benefactors, which means we had no money. As a matter of fact, I emptied out my own personal bank account to get things started. Okay? Now, no political clout. I wasn't involved in any political party or anything like that. Had no already existing organization. So I mean, I didn't have ways to plug in and connect and organize and all of that. So essentially anything that you would need to organize or build or do something of that caliber, like the March on Washington, things of that nature, we had none of that. None. How could it happen? How could that manifest to that degree? And no, there was no fake book and YouTube and all that at the time, 25 years ago. So how could that happen? So for those who say they're so spiritually inclined or in tune to certain things, I wonder, because there's only one entity that wrote something that I certainly agree with, and it is the Million Woman March was a social phenomenon. A scholar in Chicago, a professor in Chicago, wrote about it. That was not supposed to happen. And by the way, who did we have there? Now, this should have gave folks a clue in terms of the scale, the creativity, the diversity, or I don't say diversity, the multi-level
Yeah.
Malcolm X's daughters,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Congressman John Conyers, Congresswoman Maxine Waters,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sister Soldier,
Yep.
Jada Pinkett Smith,
Yep.
Dr. Dorothy Height,
Mm-hmm.
Dick Gregory,
Yep.
Blair Underwood,
Mm-hmm.
and needless to say,
I'm gonna let you say it.
Winnie Mandela.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, again, and a message read by Sister Asada Shakur. I mean,
That's the core.
she wrote it, she sent it to us from
Yes,
Cuba,
yeah, I remember
right?
that.
But it was read in English and in Spanish. Now, who does that? Who did that? Show me some women that did anything even close to that. And people didn't understand what was going on to do that kind of thing to that degree with that type of what more did you need? We covered from A to Z. And so I'm saying that to say, you know, if a certain thing happened and came down from the sky and said, you know, it was the savior or whatever, folks wouldn't get it. Because if stuff come right before your eyes and you can touch it and feel it, and you still don't see it, then the blindness is much deeper than we think and know. And that's why now for me, Mother Nature is like, yo, let me give y'all some wake-up calls. This is why we're seeing the kinds of weather and flooding and so forth that's going on. At least that's my perspective. Because we've had great teachers and Wally Moos, we've had great griots, we've had prophets, we've had messengers, and we still doing some of the same stuff. So obviously something else gonna have to happen.
Excellent, excellent. Those who are just joining me, we have the originator, the architect, the sole founder, and President General of the National Million Woman March, Dr. Filet. In the building, y'all.
Brother
Hit that
Abdul,
subscribe button.
can I just share one quick thing while because this just came to mind, I gotta
Yeah,
tell you.
please do, because I don't want you to lose it.
Okay, so you mentioned about my honorary doctor's degree. The name, I wanted to correct the name because ancestors be coming into my
Please
right?
do. Please do.
So his name is Dr. Kwabinan Ashanti.
Kwabinan.
Right, if you
I
look him up,
mispronounced
you'll
that.
find him because he was a professor at a college in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but who was he also in another realm? How many are familiar with the Willie Lynch letter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you are? Okay, I'm sure your listeners or your viewers are as
Yeah.
well.
You did tell me about your connection with and all that. I remember back in 2019.
Well,
Yeah, I remember you gave us, yeah.
see,
So I'm aware of that.
Right. I've had elders, not many, because I'm not one that listen to a lot of people that people have that complain about me, which is, I mean, should I care? No. But I do have elders that I do admire and do listen to. And Dr. Kwabinan Ashanti was one of them. It just so happened, this is why I say folks really don't be studying other stuff. For example, they'll make reference to the Willie Lynch letter, but if you ask, well, who wrote that? They're going to tell you some white dude named Willie Lynch. Not true. It was written by Dr. Kwabinan Ashanti when he was a college student. His major was psychology, by the way. And so he wrote a paper for one of his classes. And he wanted to get a certain response from his classmates, his professors, and so forth. So he put the name, or he made it appear that it was a white person, I call him off-white, by the way, person that was writing it. And it became what was known as the Willie Lynch letter. right? But it wasn't written by anybody named Willie Lynch at all. And if you Google this, you'll find it. Believe me, it's online. And it didn't really come out until the Million Man March. They kind of it resurfaced during the Million Man March. But again, information about how that letter came into existence, most did not know. And because Dr. Kwame Ashanti was one of the scholars who would review my work as an independent researcher, he looked at it and said, whoa, you're something. We need to elevate you and your work. And so myself, along with, what's his name? John Carlos and Tommy, the brothers, they also received the honorary doctorate degree the same time I did, by the way. And so it was Dr. Kwame Ashanti who orchestrated all of that. But I'm saying again, from a historical perspective, he is the one who wrote the Willie Lynch letter. And he did it as a student in order to meet a criteria for his undergrad work at the time. So little back history for you.
Did y'all hear that, y'all? So y'all getting some information, man, about the Willie Lynch letter. You know, the writer. you know.
And if you, sidebar, if you think maybe it's not true, go to anyone that deals with linguistics and writings. The language in that letter does not match the time period that is said to be written.
Yeah, that would be the 1600s. So that's
language. That's how we were able to prove that
you still would have some Middle English transitioning to modern English, but it would still be some Middle English.
Right. And there's some other words in there. There's
other words. Yeah, that's a good, you're right. Good point. Good point.
Yeah. Yeah, 90 to 95% of what I say I can prove. So again, just telling people that we've got to do better in certain other areas of research. Our people do wonderful research in things that are popular, particularly for that time period. But in a more holistic sense, we need to do a bit more, needless to say, and particularly when it comes to our women. I'm working on a national Black women's history curriculum. And I'm telling you, I'm learning so much. I had no idea with what I have begun to find out. And for point of clarity, there is a reason why I use the word Black, and that's because I study Black holes. I've been studying Black holes for 10 years. And I mean intensively. And so for me, the energy and the connection to things that most have no clue about, that's what I'm dealing with. That's why the Million Woman March was able to happen. So my point is, the theories that I bring forward, they manifest. The Million Woman March proved that. That was a theory. That was something that I put together. If you look at it, well, most have no clue. If you examine it, you will see that it was very strategically structured. And that was intentional. Now, since then, I've been able to connect more of what I call the Black dots. Some call the Black dot here being your pineal gland. So again, how is that reference to Black holes? How is that reference to the system of Sirius? You see, so when I say certain things, I'm not saying it from a European context. Let's be real clear about that. I know what I'm saying and why. Now, however somebody else might want to define it or misconstrue it, that's on you. But I'm saying that there are dynamics in the universe that some of us have tapped into, and some of you as well. So you know what I'm saying, right? But again, a lot of things are being revealed or conveyed that was not clear before. So I encourage folks to keep an open mind. I'm not asking anybody to follow anything or believe anything. That's not my business. That's not my line of work. I provide information, I provide vehicles and other things for things to happen. Now, what folks do with it, that's up to them. That's their responsibility, not mine. And so again, be real clear. I ain't trying to get nobody to follow or do nothing. In fact, for me, people that attempt to try to get people to follow them like that, that's suspect for me right there. In this day and age, no. So again, the information, the thought processes, and other things that I convey is for the purpose of not just education, but edification. That's a different realm of comprehension. But as a mother, my role is to help my children, right? And so I look at as much as possible in every aspect, because a mother has to know each one of their children, each one of each one of the children, and deal with each one accordingly, and not lump everything all into the same box or category or whatever. That's neither wise, intelligent, or appropriate, and certainly not in a sense of order. So again, just for point of clarity, I use certain words for very distinct reasons. And I understand very clearly that there's different time periods, there's different eras where certain words or concepts are more applied or lesser applied than others. And based on those time periods, that's when things will manifest or not manifest. But I'm saying right here, right now, with what's getting ready to happen in the universe, I would strongly suggest that people get a little more in tune to some other kinds of dynamics. And lastly, on that note, there's not one nation, one group of people, for the most parts, that have not been involved in war. Okay? See, again, everything has its place. And you have to keep it in perspective. Yes, certain things are necessary. But at the same time, make sure that you do understand what goes with some of that other territory. And that is that sometimes we have to use certain tools or apparatuses for certain specific things. That doesn't mean that that's applicable to everything. But anyway, I digress. Back to you, Brother Abdullah.
And you had mentioned a few minutes ago about no nation arises without her woman. Now you have one of the other points that you wanted to bring forth is who is the original primordial mother of the planet we call Earth, and why is her divine and magnetic frequencies, realities, and orders being raised up at this point in time?
Yes. So again, there are elements, for lack of better terminology, in the universe, right? Those elements are not the names of nations or of peoples per se. Now, sometimes people have taken hold to some of those things and added it on to what you're doing, but the essence of those things are there and have been there. So I put that in the context of the mother of civilization. What is that? What are the elements? What are the essences of that? So this is what I bring to our forums, our circles, etc., when it comes to our development, our raising up, our coming forward, our getting the yoke and other things off of us, the foot off of us. Again, to deal with things in its proper context based on the actual element of the universe. What is that? Who is that? You see? And so, again, without trying to go through a lot of argument about, well, this is what's called this and this is what's called that, what is going to happen now is just going to be. Because there's too much division and other kinds of things about what is this and what is that, and this is right and that's not right, and all of that. And we waste too much time in this day and age. We waste too much time. And I'm not saying it's not something that should be, that we should not dialogue about or engage in. I'm not suggesting that. We're intelligent beings. Of course, we should exchange, we should dialogue, definitely. But to the degree that it's now getting, some are doing the work of the enemy and putting more time into all of this diversion, and I'm this and I'm that and I'm called this and I'm called that. And see, mother don't care what you call yourself. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do in the big scheme of things, not in the civil or other realms of reality, in the bigger scheme of things. You see, that's what it comes down to. Before you were given a name, what were you? You see, that's what we're talking about. And I'm not saying these other things are not relevant. Don't get me wrong. We're in a society, or we're in, whatever. So of course those things are relevant, but they're not the all in all. And anyone that thinks it is, or is trying to push that, okay. Let's see how that works out for you in the long run. Because we're looking at least 250 years of some stuff. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So this is what I strongly suggest, folks. And then I'm going to turn it back over to our brother Abdullah, and it's this. Accept the truth. And that is, in some instances, the enemy they duped us. They got us. Okay. See, I'm not afraid to say I lost a war or a battle, as long as I know that in the end I'm going to be the victor. You see. And for those who are not familiar with warrior queens, hello, greetings, because some of us are here. Even though people try to kick us to the side and try to, bash us and, oh, y'all talking feminism, and Negro, please stop. You have to know, understand, overstand, mother, moot, and know the connection between those actual operations. And that because of some of the suppression of our women in particular, and the games that has been played in some of these religions, and now, no, I'm not talking about ways of life, I'm talking about religion, that has been utilized to specifically oppress our women, thereby feeding off of them in order for others to be able to feel that they are, excelling or whatever. And so we think that was going to continue forever. Not at all. So I'm going to stop there on that point. So I don't want to get too much into certain things right now. We'll say that for another time.
Another question. And you mentioned earlier about, and even as you were talking about, the religion or the misrepresentation of it thereof, suppressing women, and that is facts. Why did Amy, with Jacques
Jocks.
Jocks. Thank
Mhm.
you. Why did Amy Jocks Garvey send a message to black men 100 years ago about the advancement of black women, and Brother Malcolm X presented us analogy of the black woman being the most disrespected person on the planet. This is what um wanted something you wanted the audience to you wanted to present to the audience. Wanted to bring this analysis out.
Yeah, I just thought it was very interesting when I was doing research on, we call her Saint Amy Jacques Garvey, with the Million Woman March Universal Movements, because we realized that we have to deal with self-determination in a way where we identify for ourselves who we are, who our people are, et cetera, et cetera. So we now have declared, we have actually 25, we're working on 30, what we call sister saints. If other people can have saints, why can't we? So we have began that kind of initiation in declaring some of our women as saints based on their work, contributions, and so forth. Saint Amy Joyce Garvey is one of them. So I was doing research on some of her, because for each one of our saints, we're going to provide educational materials, other kinds of information. And of course, it'll be in our history curriculum. But when I read something that she wrote, and I'm gonna try to pull it up in a moment. 100 years ago, she wrote it. It was published October the 25th, right? 1925. And she's talking about different things that's going on in 1925. But then she says something that's specifically to our men, to our brothers. And again, I'm gonna pull it up for you so I can read exactly what she said, because she said it. I didn't say it, right? And again, for those who do not know, because we talk about the Honorable Marcus Garvey, which we just commemorated one of his Earth days. But when you say, I even asked some people in the Marcus Garvey movement about Saint Amy Joyce Garvey, and they asked me, was that his daughter? That shows you just how little care there is for us as women. And here that was not only his wife, but you would not have the philosophy and opinions of the Honorable Marcus Garvey if it was not for the Honorable Amy Joyce Garvey, who compiled his work and put it into book form. And when he was incarcerated, who held things together? Who made sure that the newspaper would continue, et cetera, et cetera? Who attended one of the first Pan-African conferences? And I mean, I could go on and on and on about Saint Amy Joyce Garvey, who, of course, one of our other saints is Saint Queen Mother Moore. You see, so again, we are, and I'm talking about those who are learned, those who study, those who claim to kind of be about certain things. I don't know. I'm challenging some of that now, y'all. I have to, because when it comes to our women, there is a real void, and that puts it mildly. And so going back to what Brother Abdullah's question was, Brother Malcolm X, again, because I head up a team called We Charge Genocide 21. We've been doing work on the great Paul Robeson, and of course, Malcolm X, El Haj Malik El-Shabazz, and others. And one of the things we found, of course, was Brother Malcolm saying that we had to take our issues to the United Nations. We had to raise it up from civil rights to human rights. And so we've done that. In fact, next month, we'll be at the United Nations to kind of reenact and kind of recognize or let folks know that Brother Malcolm was there 65 years ago on September 21st, addressing diplomats and nation representatives about our human rights 65 years ago. And so we have taken some of his work and began to bring it, more into the 21st century. But as Brother Michael said, we should take this to the United Nations, etc. He also said over 60 years ago, the most disrespected entity on the planet, actually said person on the planet, was the Black woman. Now, why would a man of that stature, of that knowledge, of that intellect, why would he make it a point to make sure that he said, in his opinion, the most disrespected person on the planet was the Black woman? And so here we are today, 60 or so years later, and what are we seeing? The number of missing Black women and girls all over the country, the sex trafficking, the organ trafficking, and yet you hear little to nothing about it. But you'll hear all this about gun violence all over the country. You'll hear all this about other stuff all over the country, but you will hear little to nothing about the fact that our young girls and our women in particular, in the thousands, nobody cares. So Brother Malcolm already knew then what we're seeing right now. Okay.
Well, all right, good. I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you wanted to add? Continue. Add to that point. That topic.
Well, only rather that right now, for some of us, it's about direct action. And that's what we're going to be doing now, as Brother Malcolm said, by any and all means necessary. And so the next 5 years, I created something called the Black Print Agenda 2530.
Yeah. Yep. That was on the top. Yep.
Mhm.
You want to get into that now?
Well,
All right.
In a few minutes, but I just want to say, see, again, without a plan of action, and it has to be a plan of action. It's not just for this week or next month or next year. It has to be a plan of action with the intent of actually building and also dealing with accountability. And so that's what we're now talking about and doing. And so in October, we're going to unveil what we call the Ultra Black Print Agenda 2530. Most people have blueprints. We don't. We have black print. And again, that's for a very specific reason. And again, I'll be doing classes, particularly for our women, in terms of rites of passage, in terms of dealing with the universal concept of the Black woman. The universal concept, not the civic, not the, the Masonic, not the universal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And nobody can really bring that to the degree except the Black woman herself, for the most part. Not to say that brothers couldn't, but all right. It's just like with anything else. You can't experience being pregnant, for the most part. It's not to say that brothers don't have a connection, but it's not the same, okay, usually. So there's some things that we're claiming, stating, and dealing with as our women and girls, period. We're not asking for permission. We're not asking for approval, none of that. Like it or not. Did you have another question, Brother Abdullah?
No, we were. So you want to go to you now on the Universal Movement Ultra Black Print Agenda. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay.
As far as the logistics are concerned.
Well, it took me 10 years to
Mhm.
develop And by the way, I'm out in the park, y'all, so it's getting to get dark, but I'm going to put some light on in a minute. It took 10 years to develop this. So again, the Million Women March and its universal movements is not something that just, popped up. And this has been a labor of love, and it has been, in some ways, it's been a nightmare. Because when have you seen or heard of, and I'm gonna change the language for you, a highly melanated woman talk about literally the development of a nation in this day and age, and not already have, shall we say, the sanctioning or the whatever of already existing entities? Show it to me. You see? But I can say that because that's what I'm doing. And don't get me wrong, there are some brothers, very few, that get it. And they have been very supportive. But for the most part, the work that I'm doing primarily is that of the Creator and the ancestors. Now, again, I'm not trying to convince anybody about anything because I don't need to. The Million Woman March already did what it did, and it's history, and there's nothing anybody can do about it, and it's undisputed, like it or not. But it does give a clear indication that something happened that wasn't the norm. So the Black Print Agenda 2530 is really a 10-year plan, but I'm only going to release 5 years of it because our enemies infiltrated my organ on numerous occasions. I've always been able to, neutralize them, but the last time was real interesting, and it taught me a lesson because our people are very, shall we say, they've learned a lot of stuff, history and other things, and they come into our groups and organizations, and the moment they don't either like something, don't understand something, or their head get bigger and they want to be you, then they'll create this other kind of confusion. And so now I only put out X amount of information until I'm ready. But the Black Print Agenda 25 is spelled capital B, lowercase l, lowercase a, lowercase c, capital X, capital P, lowercase r, lowercase I, lowercase n, lowercase t. Now, for those of you who are inclined to mathematics and other modes of operations formats, then you will know that the formula is for that is BXP. It's a formula. It's not just a plan, it is, but on the paper, but it's also a formula because that's what I deal with. I create formulas in order to do certain operations. Again, remedies are both legal and medical. And they are all derived, for the most part, from some other formations. So for some other, whatever. And so in this case, it is formulas. That is mathematically speaking. So again, the operative word or letters were BXP for a reason, because there are remedies that are being sought. And so to do that, you have to create a dynamic or other modes of operations in order for that to happen. So the Black Print Agenda 25 is actually BXP. B representing Black brilliancy, actually, or brilliantly Black. X is, for some, the number 10, because it's actually a 10-year plan. But X also represents other dynamics in the universe. For some, it is the unknown, while for others, it's very well known. But X can be almost anything. It's a place, it can be a placeholder. It can maneuver in different kind of ways. That's why when you deal with mathematics, X can represent whatever it needs to represent. P is actually power. But when you combine X and P together, you get, in a technical context, XP. And for those who are into technology and computer science, then you know that XP is also short for extra performance. So again, what you will see from MWM Universal are things that really come from a totally different system. Because again, for example, I want to make sure, oh, there we go. For example, when we talk about the Dogon, who talked about the system, the Sirius system, long before the telescope. Well, that's what we're talking about now. We're talking about some things that most probably won't see anytime soon. Some will, but some won't. But that's okay. So I'm going to leave it there, Brother Abdullah.
All right, hang on. All right, so we have, get my notes here. You mentioned one of the things that you wanted to bring up, uh, dealing with a possible civil war among our people. Is there a civil war on the horizon among our people?
Yeah. Well, I dare say it is. And to some degree, I think it's being orchestrated by the enemy or enemies. Because again, we're putting in a lot of time and energy into, well, I'm this, I'm that, you're this, you're not. And I mean, again, that has its place, but it's getting to the point now where it's really starting to get dangerous, starting to become dangerous. And so, particularly when it comes to the issue of reparations and land and things of that nature. Right. And so Brother Malcolm taught years ago that some of this stuff we need to go into the closet or go into the room and discuss it ourselves, as opposed to, putting stuff out into the public the way that it is. And I dare say that our enemies are going to use that against us. And at some point, I strongly believe they are going to create a situation where, to a much more visible extent, you're going to see different groups, clans, tribes, or whatever you want to call it, organizations, go up against one another. Based on this is who I am and you're not, and that kind of thing. Okay. And so again, I'm not saying that some of that is not relevant and should not be addressed, but we better be very careful to what degree and how much we are allowing others to use that against us. Because sometimes when you have to prove a point to the degree where it becomes injurious and dangerous, unless you're declaring war, you got to sometimes say, let me reevaluate this.
Good point. Good point. And I often making, and the audience has heard me say, we're constantly banging on each other. It's constantly. I've observed that for 33 years. So, and it's been orchestrated by our subjugators. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, we already see what's going on and what is going to be going on. COVID showed us that. So if folks think them folks is playing now, okay. They got a whole nother plan going on. When I was at the United Nations 2 years ago, we walked into a session accidentally, by the way. Um, we weren't, we were just chilling, going to another session, and we stopped in just to kind of sit down and rest for a few moments. And at the time, walked into a session that was talking about how this new vaccine was going to be administered throughout Africa on particularly girls starting at the age of 12, under the guise of helping to curtail ovarian cancer. And these corporations and women's ingos and others were all in there, all excited. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're sitting there going, what? And so the UN and Africa has a plan called 2065. So I'm telling y'all, we can keep going back and forth with each other about some stupid stuff. But, and I'm sorry, it is relevant, but I'm saying these people got a plan that they're not going to care what you're calling yourself. That's relevant in certain circles. The only thing certain people are going to be concerned about is what you look like. And you can keep saying, melanated, but I'm telling you, they got a whole nother thing going on. And so our spirituality is going to be one of our best weapons. So we better start raising up that frequency a little more than some of these debates about some of this other thing. That has its place and time, but let's do some comparative analysis on how much time are we putting into that in comparison to dealing with our natural and unnatural enemies. Okay.
You might need to put some light on around you.
I'm trying to find it. I can't. I'm trying to find it.
Find your light.
Yeah.
Come into the light. There's peace and serenity into the light. I love that scene. Poltergeist. I love that scene, man. That's my favorite scene. All right. As you find your light, come into the light. Yes.
Okay, so any other question you have for me, my brother?
Well, I exhausted the questions. We do have a little bit more time, but we can end early if we need to. I've done a wonderful job, and I'm once again I greatly appreciate your coming on this evening. Like some a lot of my audience may not know who you are.
Oh, I'm sure they don't. That's intentional. that's quite intentional.
Oh man! All right, so yeah, because it's you have summer, in their 20s or early 30s, so they were children when we were rocking the march,
Yeah, but see, here's
So
the thing. So they know about other things, right?
well,
From 100
yeah,
years ago and whatever.
yeah.
I don't accept any of that like that.
Which
I wasn't around for the I wasn't around when Emmett Till or even the March. Well, I was around. I was too little though. But I'm saying I know about that stuff.
Well,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
yeah. No, come on.
All right. Well, they know now.
Right? And
Yes,
that just says that the parents are not doing an ample job. How about that?
Yes, definitely. Well, if you have anything you want to add, you want to be before so we do have some time, but if you want to any other projects that you're working on?
We have so many projects. It's almost like I don't even know where to begin. But I can
Mhm.
tell you that you know, one of the focuses is, of course, educating our children ourselves. That is one of the things that we're looking at doing. So there's going to be some co-ops presented in Philly and in other cities that is going to help our people to do a better job and us being more responsible in educating our children. And you know, there are other business kinds of things that we're working on in addition to health related things. We have a national Black women's doula midwifery association that's being put together so that sisters will feel. And by the way, big ups to the sister you had on last week.
I was about to
That
say
was
that. Yeah, yes.
excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but we want to make sure now that we start doing things more on a national, international level, and with consistency. That's very important. We've been doing our radio podcast for 17 years
Yeah, I
straight,
remember. Yeah. Yeah.
straight. So if folks aren't doing things on a consistent basis, we already know they're not serious.
You gotta be
And I'm
consistent. Nope, that's facts. That's fact. They
right.
gotta be you gotta be consistent, and
Absolutely.
that does indicate seriousness. Absolutely, I agree with you on that.
Absolutely. And again, because things are not built when it comes to longevity, I mean, it takes time for that to happen.
Facts.
And so if you're not focused on dealing with, you know, a stick to it, digging in, then
You
it's
sound
not
like
going to
me. You sound like me. Taz, Taz, bear witness. Taz can bear witness. You sound like me.
happen, right?
Oh,
So I cannot
absolutely.
find my light
Your
here.
life coming to the light.
Again, I was out in the park and I thought I was going to move to another location, but we got so much into the conversation that I ended up just sitting, and now it is
Yeah,
dark.
yeah, it's pitched. You says,
Hold on.
you found
Ah,
that's something. That's a light.
yep, I got something. Hold on. Okay, now a little better.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, there we go. A little better, but I'm gonna try to get a little more. I can at least see something else here. So
So you were talking about the projects you're working on. I know there's numerous.
well, again, the one thing that we know is we have to be deprogrammed. And that means even with stuff that we think we know, because as I study black holes and I study physics a lot, because you know my brain, I get bored easily, so I have to do things that helps to stimulate my brain. So I study
Mhm.
physics you know, every day pretty much. But one of the things that I found is that what a lot of the information from the science world, a lot of it's changing. Things that they said was, they're saying now
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
wasn't,
know.
or they
Yeah,
don't know. So you can't just hold on to stuff that you think is what you think it is, because every day now they're saying again and again, I read a lot of science stuff. They're saying, well, you know, we just found this out, and now that just got physicists, you know, wondering about this theory and da 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 da.
Terrence just text me. He said point the light to you towards you, and
Oh,
I thought and I thought about that too. T. Thank you, T.
okay, all right, hold on, I'm gonna do that in a minute, but I'm gonna try to do
Yes.
something even better. Hold on. Okay. Okay, hey, does anybody else have another question or thought?
Well, let me see if I can go. Type your questions in. Type your questions in. Let me see if I can get. How do I get to the questions? All right. I go to the dot here. Let me see. comments. Let me go to comments. All right, I'm on the comments.
There you
Type
go.
your questions in or comments. Type your questions in. All right, let me just go. All right, so we have.
That's better.
All right, good. All right, so I'm looking at the comments now. S- Nadine, it was definitely a packed house. She referring to the march, woman march. Type your. These are comments. I have the book. Brother Kirk Thomas says it's good to see you. I also had the bumper sticker on my DG. It was all right.
Well, listen, let me just say this about all of that. It was a wonderful event. Great. We've been building a movement for 2 decades now and been asking sisters in particular to get involved. Get in where you fit in. There's something for everyone. Why our women do not feel the need to be well organized on a national, international level baffles my brain. Because other women, they're not playing. They are doing what they feel they need to do for them and their families and communities. What about us? What are we talking about doing that's organized on the level of what other women are doing? For example, going back to one of your questions you asked me about some of the projects, we're looking at forming our own credit union for our women, along with, I'll put this out there, we've been holding on until October when we do our conference and summit. But because we've connected with women throughout the diaspora, what we realize is that many of the women in different countries are really the ones that's holding certain things down. A lot of times when it comes to farming in particular. We also know that our women in other countries in particular, they've got to make money to send the children to school. Unlike in the States where there's public schools, in many countries, there is no public school. If you don't have no money, your child cannot go to school. You have to pay for tuition, you have to pay for books, you have to pay for anything else, right? Uniforms, etc. So what we realize is, how can we do what needs to be done for ourselves here as well as in other countries, and connect it so that we all can benefit. So we created something called, here's the slogan, do business with the Divine USA. Who's the Divine USA? United Sisters of Africa, or Akabalon. This way, our women who make a lot of items, be it bags, shoes, hats, clothing, beadery, jewelry, pottery, our plan is to be able to market those items at our own marketplace online. This way, we're able to generate revenue. They're able to get the monies that they need to send your children to school and for health reasons and so forth. This is one of the initiatives that we'll unveil in October. Another one of our initiatives is our Ebony Amber Alert. Given the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, it is our women and girls that are primarily being kidnapped, sex trafficked, etc. What's the plan? For us, it is to begin to hold ongoing sessions in our communities and virtually on this topic, but also to develop an app where at any time one of our women and girls is missing in our communities, anyone that has the app will get the notice. because with sex trafficking, they're often taken out of the city. Therefore, if you have our app, which we call the Ebony Amber, and our Amber is for 1 million Black women rising. So the acronym, it comes out to be Amber, not Amber, but like the other people, but ours is Ebony Amber. And so this way we are able to at least begin to counter what is happening in our community with missing Black women and girls. So those are some of what you're going to hear in October when we hold our rally. We'll be doing a couple of rallies. One is in Philly and one is in DC. DC is on November the 1st, and it is our launching for our international campaign. One of the campaigns that will be launched is what we call the Decade of Return, meaning no matter where you come from, there has to be some origin. And we want to connect that to other aspects of our people. So for the next 10 years, we call it the Decade of Return. Return to yourself, return to your own being, but also return to the kindred that is in a more vast way, areas. We have to have allies. Now, those who are here in North America, I hate to tell you, but certain resources ain't here. Therefore, we better be smart enough to develop allyship with locations that have some other kinds of capabilities in terms of resources. So again, the year of return. Return to our natural order. Return to ourselves. Return to our kindred. And in doing so, learn the different cultures, languages, folkways, mores. We're not talking about trying to compete. We're not talking about trying to indoctrinate. We want to learn and exchange as our people once did. And so with the year of return, we're able to do so. That will also include a World Music Fest. Dr. Dolores Blakely has asked us to assist in the development of a World Music Fest in Senegal. Well, it's being projected for Senegal because she wants to do something based on the transatlantic slave trade that happened there. And also in commemoration of the 55th year of the Hip Hop Summit or the Hip Hop Evolution. But we're connecting all musical genres of our people that would assemble in Senegal. Well, again, there's 2 countries that's being looked at, but Senegal is in the top running because Senegal did a festival a few years ago called Festman. And so they had the capability to accommodate, that kind of activity. But again, we've been asked to consider Senegal because of Goria Island. I am a citizen of Benin. So for those of you who are familiar with the so-called, what was it called? The Woman King. Well, I come from that particular clan indirectly. I was on my way to Senegal one year. There was some issues going on and I ended up in Benin. And as a result, I got into some things that I had no idea I would be getting into. That's why I said those who are connected to ancestors, sometimes you just have to go with the flow. So I ended up in Benin, which is formerly known as Dahomey. And I was able to meet with several of the kings. And one of the kings that I met with was, in fact, from the lineage of what you saw in the warrior king, what was that thing called? Whatever it was called. Of course, some of that was not true or, made up, but some of it was. I've been there and I met with the women who came from that lineage. I had to ask permission to meet with them with the king first, and he gave me permission, and we met just us and the women. And at that point, I was brought into the society. So again, I can be a witness to certain things. The women still were the security for the king, by the way. When we got there, it was the women around the king that made sure that, you know, everything was cool. And so we have really got a lot to do and look at and grow. But again, if we're too closed-minded, you'll miss some stuff that you really need to have. And again, I'm not suggesting that anyone should change anything. I'm just suggesting that we be a little more open-minded and capability of discernment in certain things. There are a lot of issues, needless to say, with all of our peoples. No matter what tribe, what clan, or whatever, what village, there's some issues, both past and present. But the key thing is to know how to resolve it in such a way, when possible, in the most positive, holistic kinds of manner.
All right. By the way, Sister Akasha's on, the sister who was on last week, and Sister Tanisha answered her question, where are you? So thank you, Sister Tanisha. She's asking, Akasha's asking, do you have your website? Do you have a website?
The new website will not go up until looks like September 15-ish or thereabouts. But I'll certainly give you information where you can contact us directly. And we'll certainly, you know, right now we're asking our sisters to support in whatever way. We have a $1 campaign to $1 million. All right. That way anybody can get in where you fit in. We are self-determined. We don't do the grant thing and the corporate thing. And so our programs are things that we are developing. We have to figure out how to do that. And as you know, as Black women, our Kabbalonian women, we know how to do that. That's why the Million Woman March was successful, because we sold pies, cakes, dinners, and we t-shirt, you name it. We had to raise close to $500,000. Events are not cheap. Not that kind of event.
Not that kind of event.
No, no, not, you know, and everyone said it was well done and put together. And it was. And again, it showed the capability. It wasn't done by, you know, the board members or whatever. This was mama, for real, all across the board. So again, sisters and brothers, because we still have our group, Brothers in Support. We want our brothers, because we're not going to do anything without our brothers. Let's be clear about that. This is not about feminism. We ain't into that. We're the original mother. We don't have to follow behind nobody's ideas or concepts about being a woman. You gotta give me a break. No.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're saying things that are applicable to our women, of course, because we must. We've got to advocate for ourselves to a greater extent. When you go into certain circles, other women are there. And while I'm not into the political thing as much, I do know it has its place. We live in communities. Those communities have city councils, they got mayors, they got other kind of commissions, committees. If we're not abreast, aware, then other people will be making decisions and other things that will affect us, whether we like it or not. Until we're able to really have our own land, have our own societies, have our own nations, unfortunately, we got to interact with some other folks. So again, I do not advocate for elections and all of that, but I live in the real world. And I have had situations where I've had people maybe got locked up for a reason or ran into a situation for a reason. And if I didn't know somebody that worked in some of them circles to make a quick phone call to find out what's going on, it might take me 2-3 more days. So you have to do some things that makes sense strategically. So again, for those who wish to make a donation, we appreciate it. I will give you that information in a few moments. I don't know if you're able to put that in your chat or whatever, but I'll certainly tell you what it is, both Cash App and PayPal. Again,
We'll see. Tanisha, you can put that in the chat.
oh, that's Tanisha. That's
Tanisha.
Tasha.
Yeah, she's on. So Tanisha will put it in. She'll put it in the chat. All right, good.
See, that's what we're talking about, family. We need our sisters and brothers. But sisters, I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is not good. These young girls out here, between the hair and the nails and the eyelashes, and I'm not trying to knock anybody about anything, don't get me wrong, but those are priorities.
Yeah, that's where you're going with it. You're not knocking. You just the emphasis that we put on it, the amount of finance we put in it. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
You're not knocking it.
And a part of that, we know the system has manipulated them into that, but also, where's our women at? Where's our sisters at? They're saying, sis, come here, let me talk to you for a minute. Let's have a conversation. And do it with consistency. And do it with a certain level of representation. See, I can say that because Million Woman March is historic. It has a foundation like none other. So if I step to someone and say, I represent Million Woman March, they don't have to like that or agree with it, but you can't dispute it. And it has cards to it that it can play like none other. Perfect example, the African Union declared in 2010 the Decade for African Women. Now we're talking about countries here with land, resources, etc. They declared the Decade for African Women. This was 2010. So in 2020, I had planned to connect with them in order to now broaden the scope. But you all know 2020 COVID hit. So we weren't able to do it. So now we are doing it. We are connecting to the African Union and proposing to them the International Decade for Women and Girls of African Descent. They have to do this in one way or the other because they're the ones that started it. I have their report. So now what we're saying on our end is we've examined your report and we now want to partner with you on some of these things to bring about a greater fruition, a greater productivity situation. Just as the United Nations have now declared the second decade, International Decade for African People. But again, most of our women don't know anything about any of those things because the people that know that are not going to inform you of it because they don't want you to be able to advance or evolve. And we've changed that game all across the board. So, with that said, we have something called the United Nations of African Women. We have some other components called the Commission on the Status of African Women and Girls, because at the United Nations, they have the Commission on the Status of Women. And so, again, the language has to sometimes match what is presently there. You're going to hear us use more the term Akabalon, New Akabalon, because our elder Dr. Ben taught us that the continent was once called Akabalon. And so if folks can call it Africa, we can call it Akabalon. And we're going to. Again, self-determination is not only a time for Kwanzaa, but it is, in fact, as I'm sure Brother Abdullah has shared with you at some other point, it is an element within international law.
Mhm.
It's a real instrument. But again, you've got to know how to use it like everything else. And we have been blessed enough to have traveled this road for over a decade to learn it and to now share it with our sisters in particular on whatever level you're on. Usually, certain information or applications is reserved for those who are in certain other circles, your sororities, your corporations, etc. And so we've changed that game all across the board. I've been at the UN for 10 years. I've done presentations, etc. So,
Awesome.
you know, yeah. Oh, yeah. So now we're going to establish our own NGO.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I didn't want to do that, but unfortunately, when you're dealing with international world kind of interaction,
Yeah.
they're
Yes.
not going to engage with you unless you have certain components in place.
The components in place. That's facts. And NGO, stay. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
facts. That's facts.
Exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
So again, those sisters who are interested in those types of things, we will now have training and other kinds of things for you, just for that, just for international kinds of interaction, as well as local and national. Again, we are multifaceted, multi-level, all across the board, from A to Z. And we say from the grassroots through the glass ceiling.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, any more questions,
Well,
comments?
so your information. Give Tanish your information so she can type it
Okay,
in.
Sister Tata usually knows, but okay, our Cash App is $HOT 1111. Again, $HOT 1111. And our PayPal is hold on, let me find out what that is. Our group is National Black Human Rights Project. So it's the acronym for that. And I believe that's NVHR Project at gmail.com. That's our PayPal. And you can also use that for Venmo, I believe it is. Yeah, we also have a Venmo account on that same one.
I think she's waiting because she says already there, so I guess she's probably going to be looking it up and going to put it in the
Right.
chat.
Okay.
I'm just waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, I
K
have it.
Matt.
It's NBHR Project at gmail.com. And that's for National Black Human Rights Project. So it's NBHR Project at gmail.com. Oh, real briefly, Brother Abdullah, we will be holding pre-plebiscite sessions for our sisters and then for any of our folks that are interested. Again, we've studied certain things and realized that at some point, some of us are going to declare our name, the name that we want to be recognized at this time. And I can tell you that one of those is the New Maroons, the New Maroon Society, because we want to make sure that those who come from the descendants of those enslaved, as well as those who are already here, have a safe home, a safe haven, a place that they belong or feel that they belong. So we're bringing the two entities together, those who are from formerly enslaved situations, as well as those who were not, but yet still know the oppression, still know the exploitation, etc. So to formulate our own new societies and then declare it and establish it as such. Now, note, that doesn't have baggage. That is not connected to anything else that can even be said it did any harm to anybody. And in the big scheme of things, that's going to make a big difference. So again, we're introducing concepts and ideas that are a little different from most. But I'm sure most of you could bear witness to the fact that at some point, some of the things that we are now talking about today, that some of our ancestors introduced decades ago, at that time, that was brand new then, and folks were not feeling it or hating on it or whatever then too. Some of us are ahead of our time, although we be right on time, but it takes a while for it to sink in. Change is inevitable, but change is also oftentimes very complicated for most, particularly if you're stuck on stupid. So anyway.
Sister Tanisha put the information in the chat. She put your Cash App, Venmo. It's in the chat.
Okay.
Where is she? It's all in the chat. And she types.
Okay, cool. And again, sisters, we're looking to get 1 million members. If the Honorable Marcus Garvey could have close to 2 million members 100 years ago, certainly we can have at least 1 million now. We brought 2.5 million together, but now we need to put that into some actual formation. And we have several units. We have our own arts and entertainment or edutainment unit. We have our defense and building a army of sisters who are law enforcement, military, and martial artists. Because of what we're building, all across the board has to be protected. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. So we also have the Million Woman Ministries. Again, you will see come October a very well-planned, well-laid-out structure that is holistic and ma'atic. Our ideology, philosophy is based on information, writings of many of the ancient ones. And we draw from the principles of Ma'at: truth, justice, reciprocity, honor, balance, order, righteousness. You see, that's not from somebody's book. Not that books aren't good. Read them all the time. But some stuff ain't about that. Some stuff is a little more profound and can't be changed, can't be interpreted by somebody else at some point. So that's why we're drawing from things that have a certain type of a certain element to it. I don't know what other word to use at this point. But it can't be contradicted. It can't be put into a realm of, well, I think it's this, and I think it's that, and you think it's that. No, we're going to avoid as much of that as possible. And we should at this stage of the game. So again, there's different levels that MWM is operating on and will be operating on. People can get in wherever they feel comfortable. If you want to come up in the ranks, then fine, okay? You will know what that entails. But if you just want to be a supporter or whatever, we welcome that. We're building camaraderie. We're building our communities, our families, our nations. We want to support the already existing nations. So we're not talking about just starting something new and all that. No, we talking about if an entity is doing something that's going to help our people, we want to support it in whatever way we can. an organization, a society, a nation, whatever, if they're doing something to genuinely help our people, then we down with it. And again, this is why we know that folks weren't serious, because anytime you saw 2 million women and people didn't see the possibilities of what that could do, knowing that women hold the purse in many of the families, that told us and the enemy that folks were not astute or as smart as they be talking about, because none of the people in our circles that deal with finance thought of picking up the phone and said, yo, sis, let's talk. You just had 2 million Black women, 2 million highly melanated women. Let's see what we can do for the future. None of those people did that. So how are you going to talk to me about what we need to do financially when you already saw the capability of what we could do financially? And these people had the kind of expertise that I didn't have. Finance wasn't my area of expertise. I learned it now, though, but it wasn't then. So I'm just saying, we got to do some real critical kinds of analysis now. So MWM, Universal Movements, is producing its own clothing line, natural products, and we're going to do 5 years of a lot of different events, because we have to generate our own revenue, but we have to do it with integrity, creativity, and with the intent of not feeding into the system to the greater degree, which means we're going to take a large part of our proceeds or monies to invest in land, not just here, but in other locations, and other kinds of things. We're planning to produce our own music. So sisters, if you have poetry, spoken word, any kind of musical kinds of songstry or whatever, we're going to create our own musical compilations. We're now recruiting our younger sisters to be involved in our Black Girls Freedom Choir, which will be featured in 2027 as part of the 30-year anniversary of the Million Woman March. And it will allow them to travel. And we hope to take them to Africa to perform for the festival that's coming up there. So that just gives you a little tidbit of what's getting ready to come. Oh, lastly, well, not so much lastly, there is a holiday, of course, for Dr. King. So there's a holiday for a Black man, African-American male, whatever you want to call it. There is now a recognition of a holiday that many can observe, and it is Juneteenth. Our question is, are we ready now for there to be a holiday for a Black, Akabalanian, highly melanated woman? So we now have a poll, a survey. We've been working on this for like a day as well, and it has now been narrowed down to 2. The great Saint Harriet Tubman, also known as Araminta, and Sojourner Truth, Saint Sojourner Truth. So come October, the sisters who are members of MWM will cast the last vote. Who are we going to campaign for? Now, note, it's strategic, sisters and brothers. It's a strategic move. We're not buying into anything American beyond a certain point. But we are very militarily oriented. And so the maneuver will enable us to do certain things in terms of connecting with the masses of our people, whereby we can provide information, other kinds of connectivities, etc. You have to meet the people where they are sometimes. So again, to introduce the concept of there being a recognized kind of holiday for a Black / Kabylonian / highly melanated woman, that's groundbreaking. And that's what we like to do. We like to create stuff that ain't nobody else doing it. Because that creates a dynamic. That creates a capability to maneuver intelligently. You see. Now, with that said, our Sister Saint campaign, and I mentioned earlier about our Sister Saints, they're going to be installed as saints. We will do this again ourselves. Some of them will be installed in other locations. For example, Saint Harriet Tubman, aka Araminta, her lineage is said to have come from Ghana. So our conversation with the Ghanaian government soon is going to be to have Araminta's statue placed in Ghana as part of the installment. Same thing with Ya Asantewaa. She's one of our sister saints. There's already a statue there for her in Ghana, but there's not one here in the US. So as a collective joint venture between the two countries, we look at creating that for the US. Same thing with Queen Mother Moore. Same thing with Ida B. Wells. Same thing with Mary McLeod Bethune. I mean, there's 30 Black women, African women, melanated women. And so again, these are strategic moves that enables countries to also be involved, which enables us to create leverage and the capability to engage based on history, arts, and culture, as opposed to political. Because when you start dealing with countries in the political arena, that gets dangerous and it gets very it can get very crazy. But when you deal with certain things based on history, arts, culture, it's a different game. And we were hoping that our brothers, more of our brothers rather, would have seen how we were really maneuvering as opposed to hating on us. Because our intention was to help our people. But you cannot do that in certain kinds of overt manners. Y'all know that. This system will destroy you. Look at the people it's already destroyed. Right now, we're fighting for Mumia Abu-Jamal, who's been incarcerated for over 42 years for speaking out about an injustice. And now he's going blind. And so my point is, you can't do certain things in this system beyond a certain point and not think these people won't come after you, because they will, and they have. Oh, the other thing I need to mention was St. Callie House. People are talking about reparations now, but you don't hear them talk about people like St. Queen Mother Moore or St. Callie House. Again, she was incarcerated for attempting to do mutual benefit things for our people in the 1800s. It wasn't called reparations then. It was called ex-slave compensation. Callie House, look her up, because a lot of people have never heard of her. But this is again how remiss we become at our convenience. But St. Callie House, she had over 300,000 members in the 1800s, all coming together in order to obtain ex-slave compensation in the 1800s. And when this government saw that, they decided to incarcerate her and did what they did with the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Now, she was before Marcus Garvey. They charged her with mail fraud. You see, just as they did the Honorable Marcus Garvey. And again, for those who do not know, J. Edgar Hoover was, of course, after the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Fast forward, COINTELPRO, which of course made it very clear that it would destroy any of our men in particular, but any of our people in general that were saying certain things or doing certain things during the 1950s to early 70s or latter 70s. And of course, Mumia Abu-Jamal and others were in that. Mumia's FBI file from the time he was 15 years of age indicates very clearly that he was targeted. So again, these are some of the things that we, meaning MWM, have been dealing with and doing, not just conversationally. Fighting for our people in many arenas. Homelessness. We recently formed a committee, two independent committees, which is a part of our We Charge Genocide. The independent committee to examine the bombing that occurred in Philadelphia in 1985. There's never been a declaration of genocide for that. It's only been in civil courts. We're now taking it into international court because it needs to be cited and documented as such. That was genocide. When did you see a bomb drop in a community other than Tulsa? But here's the catcher, or here's where it's different. 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was signed. So unfortunately, prior to that, there's going to be a lot of issues with certain, complaints or demands. But after 1948, you have better grounds to stand on. So
Sister, I gotta bring the point. We're gonna have to wind it down. Because Terrence has to go and Tanks has to wrap it up as well. So
okay, cool.
So let's start there. We can wrap it up here.
One last thing, the other commission, independent commission for the We Charge Genocide, is the examination of the experiments that were inflicted on the inmates in Pennsylvania prisons during the 1950s through the 70s. That oftentimes caused cancer. They were given these treatments on their skin. Some was coerced, some was not told at all. And as a result, they ended up in some instances with all kinds of ailments as well as mental, because some of it was also psychopathic or psychotropic drugs, whatever it's called. So we are looking to disclose that information in the form of an investigation, independent, and prepare to bring it into international court roughly around 2028. We are looking to go to Geneva, Switzerland. We will also introduce the cases of our political prisoners under COINTELPRO. Okay. And the committees are open to whoever wants to join.
Absolutely. All right. So your information is in the chat. Thank you, Tanisha. So thank you again, Sister Dr. Filet, for accepting my invitation to come on Moorish Monday. Definitely I'm looking forward to bringing you back. This is wonderful. I'm gonna keep my next week's guest under my fez. I'm gonna keep that under my fez. So you'll find out I guess Saturday when we do the promotion of it. But I'll keep my I have a special guest next week, and I'll keep that on my fez right now. So I'm not gonna let people know who my special guest is. Only about a handful of people know on my special guest is for next week. So thank you again, Dr. Filet, for joining us. So until next week, everyone, peace.
Get involved, y'all. We need your support. We need your help. We're going to do it without you if you don't anyway, but we'd like to have you with us.
Absolutely.